This is the Self-Aware Leader Podcast. Now your host, Jason Rigby.
Let's talk about difficult conversation, guys. This is going to be interesting today. I know we all hate them. We don't want to have a difficult conversation with somebody. But this is going to happen. If you are a leader, guess what? You're going to have a candid conversation with somebody. They're going to be upset with you. You're going to be upset with them. If you have any type of relationship, you have to expect that there's going to be an issue. And you can get good like any skill. You can get so good. It's like somebody that hires and fires a ton. After a while, they've hired and fired hundreds of people. It's really easy for them to do that. Your brain can understand this. The more you do it, the better it gets. Also, if you do it quickly, guess what happens? You're going to nip a lot of things in the bud that would maybe be at an 8, a 9, or a 10 if you can know and have this awareness where you could say, you know what? I heard this or this. This seems to be going on. They kind of been having a bad attitude. Let me just pull them in my office real quick and have a conversation with them in a loving way. And we'll get into exactly how to do that. Whether you give somebody a bad performance review or maybe they're misaligned with the team. These are all things that you have to have a conversation as quickly as possible because it could be a 3 or 4 or 5 and time makes it an 8, 9, or 10. And this is not hard to do once you learn how to do it. And I guarantee you, if you decided and said, hey, for the next month, I'm going to focus on having candid conversations. I'm going to swallow my ego, swallow my pride. I'm going to have humility. I'm going to have loving conversations with these people. It will change you and your organization dramatically. Because this passive-aggressive bullshit doesn't work for anyone. If you do that in your relationship, how long of a relationship would you have with your spouse or your partner? How long? If you were just passive-aggressive and never addressed issues, that's not a real leader. That's what followers do, or just like leaders address situations because they value the relationship so much. They value the relationship so much that they make an effort to have honesty, transparency, and clarity in everything that they do. So if you value your employees, if you value your teams, it is important for you to have candid conversations as soon as possible and as quickly. Whether it's a difficult employee, whether it's constructive feedback, whatever it is, I guarantee you, if you do it the right way and in love, you will have a productive outcome. You will create a loyal employee, and they will appreciate you because they're realizing you're taking the time and you're valuing them enough to listen to them. I really, really study Martin Luther King Jr. I love what he did during the civil rights movement, and he was big on this, having meetings to bridge gaps. He always wanted to build understanding. And Abraham Lincoln was this way too. He was known for exceptional leadership skills, ton of books out there on Abraham Lincoln's leadership. He would have private meetings to address conflict and frustrations within not just his administration, but he would get his worst of his enemies and make sure he had conversations with them on a regular basis, knowing and understanding that he was putting himself out there. But his enemies began to respect him over time, and some of his enemies turned into his allies. So it's so important that we have conversations. This is what I don't like with what's going on politically in the world. Whether Republican or Democrat, this whole idea that we don't need to have conversations with our enemies and that we can just be isolationists, that doesn't work. That the internet has made us the World Wide Web. It's just one big world. We can eliminate a lot of problems by sitting down, looking face to face. If they won't come here, let's go there. Let's show some humility and have a conversation. It may not be a pleasant conversation. We may even have to be hard-nosed, but at least we are willing to shake their hand and look in their eye and have a conversation. We can learn from Martin Luther King Jr. and Abraham Lincoln in this situation. So let me give you some tips for managing difficult employees or having this candid conversation in a one-on-one meeting. This is what we're going to, for the next few minutes, I'm going to give you specific how-to tips to handle these meetings. First, schedule the one-on-one meeting. Yeah, I can do that. Schedule the meeting within a few hours. Don't let them go overnight and stew about this. When you're going to have this conversation, block out, let them know, give them like 2 hours. You prepare. It's not going to take you that long. It should take you like 10 or 15 minutes to prepare, make a little outline, and then you've had that happen to you where you've said, hey, I need to have a conversation with you. And then it's like, they got to wait like 24 hours or 48 hours. It's brutal. Don't do that to them. Have the conversation within a few hours. Set a meeting agenda for yourself. Have a clear agenda. You can even give them agenda if you wanted to, the outline of your notes, so ahead of time so they know what you're talking about. And that helps both parties prepare for the conversation. This is the most important right here. Enter the conversation with an open mind. Their perception is their reality. What they're thinking in their head, no matter how wrong it is what they're actually believing. They're emotional beings that have beliefs and biases. As a leader, you should understand that and seek to understand those. You want to unlock a person? Find their beliefs and biases. Find what they get emotional about. Avoid making assumptions. The whole idea is you striving. That word striving means working to understand their perspective. That's the whole reason of the meeting. Next is figure out why your employee is frustrated. It's coaching 101. Ask open-ended questions and then emphasize with their concerns. You don't have to agree with them. Don't agree. Just say, I understand. Okay. And what else? Susan, I gave you the performance evaluation. And you seemed upset about it and kind of cold. I wanted to have a meeting with you just so we could go over it. Because maybe see how you do this? Maybe I didn't make myself clear with the performance review with some of the things that we need to work on. So I want to bring some clarity to it so that we both can understand. And maybe you felt that it was unfair. And I want to address that because the worst thing that could happen is that I would be unfair to any employee. And Susan, I really, really strive to make sure that I'm loving everyone. And so this is a hard conversation, but I think it's, I value our relationship. So I think it's really important that we have it. So what are some of the things that you have been frustrated with? And then, and they go on and on and on. And then you're like, and what else? And then, okay, I understand. That makes sense now. Okay. And then acknowledge what they share with you. Giving their people's words back to them is so valuable. So from what I'm getting at, Susan, the performance review, you didn't like the team that you were in, so you were kind of a little bit, like you said, kind of standoffish, and the team was kind of what you felt they were kind of bullying you a little bit. So you didn't really want to work for them. So the performance review you think is unfair because of that. So would you mind us having a meeting and with the team member, and I'm going to break from that script. Guys, if you can switch somebody to another team, that is so easily. If somebody's not happy or a team leader's not happy with somebody, switch them around. I've done that so many times. I'm quick to move people around because they'll find the right puzzle piece. All they need is like one person that they really like in the team, and next thing you know, you can create a friendship there, and then those people will feed off each other and help each other. Every team has its own DNA, and I've had episodes on this. And you need to recognize that and know the DNA of your team. So when you get a new employee, you and your team members can plug them in. I always let all my team members interview the person that we're going to hire, and then the team members talk about what team, and then they come to an agreement, not me, they come to an agreement what team they should go into. Most of the time, it's very clear. They're like, yeah, you should probably go into team B. You should probably go into Jim's team. We talked to them, and she seems like she would be awesome in Jim's team. Most of the time, all the managers agree. If not, then we just do a silent vote on little pieces of paper, throw them in a hat, and then we see, then it's very rare that we don't come up with a for sure answer of where this team should go. So, I let my other managers, I have decentralized democracy. So they're voting. We're having a conversation. It's very, very cool. So switching somebody is so easy. Just switch them and do a different team. It's that simple. But emphasize with their concerns. Acknowledge what they share with you. Let the employee know that you've heard and understood their perspective. Next, focus on performance, not personality. Ground the conversation in objective measures of performance. This is taking them to bring 100% responsibility. Let's use Jim. Maybe he's checked out and he hasn't been a good leader for the team, and the team's kind of been complaining and the performance has gone down. So I'm going to throw 100% responsibility on Jim. This is a conversation I'll be like, Jim, we know the performance on the team has kind of struggled the last couple months. Honestly, Jim, what do you think is that? And then if he starts victimizing, laying blame on the team, I can't do this, I can't do that, I'll switch him and put another team leader in and switch him to another team. I'll ask him. I was like, do you think you should be on another team? Do you think this is you? I was like, what if you took 100% responsibility now? What are some of the things that you would change right now? If you took 100% responsibility, what are some of the things that you would change in your team? If I don't switch you and you stay in this team. Well, I'm having a person, a lot of times the leader's having a problem with one person in their team that they don't know how to handle, so it's discouraging them. So this is where you find out. And you'll keep hearing a name over and over again. So it's like, oh, okay, well, I have a good team leader. They've been accurate. I have this one person in the team that's kind of screwing everything up. So I need to have a conversation with that person, and then I need to move them to a different team. Because each team's going to hold people accountable in a different way. Like I said, each team has their own DNA. So ground the conversation in objective measures of performance. Bring it back to performance, not personality, back to performance. Because that throws the responsibility on them. Regardless of what has happened, it is your responsibility to perform. And if we're not performing, we need to be open enough to have a conversation and find out the reason why and do first principle thinking, and we can come up with a creative solution. Next, give constructive direct feedback. Direct, honest, direct, and kind and loving. And preface it this way. Jim, I'm straight up with you. I'm honest with you every time. I'm an open book. You know this. We've worked together for 7 years. This performance, is not you. This isn't you, Jim. I know you. Where do you feel like on a 1 to 10? Where do you feel like you've been the last 2 months? Honest with me, Jim. Oh, like a 4 or 5, really. Well, we got to get you back up. I want you to love coming into work. I want you to love working with the people that I want to see that. I want to see the best version of you. I've seen that. For so many years, I've seen that. And Jim, the last 2 months, I just feel like you've kind of been like checked out a little bit. And I know you shared this, and this. See, I'm repeating what he said. I know you shared this, and this, but I want to come up with a solution how we can fix this. And I've told people this too. Maybe this is the time where you graduate and you go to another company. And I've had people say, yeah, I've kind of been looking around. Why do you think that? I'll ask, why do you think that is? I'm supportive. I want you, Jim, you're a friend of mine. I want you to be successful. And if that means you going to another company, I'm all for it. I'll give you a letter of recommendation. See, we don't understand. When you make a transition easy with if you have a great employee leave you, instead of getting butthurt, if you make that transition super easy and they go to where they think the grass is greener on the other side, but they're not coaching on the other side, they're just paying more money, they're going to hate working there. And you know how many repeat employees I've had come back and then they stay even more loyal because they're like, this is home. This is like home. I didn't like working over there. I know the money was more, but I didn't really like working over there. I've had that so many times. And that's just me being honest, direct, and kind and loving. When you deliver feedback, make sure you're being kind and loving and ask questions with it. Let them give you their feedback and then use corrective measures with their feedback that they've given you. Get to know their career goals. Understand ambitions. I want to support their growth and development, no matter what, as a human. Whether they work for me or not, I want to support their growth and development. That's what I'm here for as a leader, to have conversations with them personally, mentally, spiritually, emotionally. I want them to grow and develop. Get off your phone, get off your emails, cut your screen off, all screens off when you're having a meeting, and take notes thoroughly. You will forget what they're saying. make some action items, have them come up with you in the meeting some action items of some things, 3 to 5 action items that they can correct and that you guys are going to work on, and then set another meeting a week or 2 weeks out to go over those action items. That creates accountability. And then always close out with the conversation recap. Get into summarizing the key talking points and align on the next steps. This is it. Jim, we've got to fix your team. You've told me you know what that needs to be done. We need to move Bill out of your team and get him into a different team. I'm trusting you. You've worked with me for 6 years. If Bill's causing it, let's get him into another team. He worked great in the last 2 teams he was in. He's just not working good with you. Maybe it's a personality conflict. If you took 100% responsibility, which you said you have, you just can't work with Bill, then let's move him. I value you as a leader, and if that's what's stumbling it, let's have a conversation with the other team leaders. Let's get them in a room, and let's see who wants Bill. If no one wants Bill, let's let Bill go. Because he could have turned out, the other team leaders could have just handled him and you not even known that he was kind of negative. So when you get the team leaders again, you say, hey, Bill's up. He's our free agent. Who wants him? And no one wants him? Okay, well, let's have a conversation on Bill, guys. I need you to be frank and honest with me. Why does no one want Bill? Jim's been having some conflicts with Bill. Did you guys have conflicts with Bill too? Teresa, in your team, I know you worked with Bill. What was he like with you? You worked with him for a year. What was he like? She would say, well, to be honest with you, he was kind of negative and he would, kind of talk bad. I had to get on to him a bunch of times. Well, I don't need Bill anymore. Bill's gone. We'll hire somebody else next. Because one bad apple ruins the whole bunch because the other people don't want to be on a Zoom call with somebody that they don't like. You get rid of Bill, maybe that team will start flourishing again. And then Jim's back on. And I'll say, Jim, it looks like we need to get rid of Bill. So you need to let Bill go. After you let Bill go, and I want you to do that this week, after you let Bill go, I need you to be at a 10. So let's do this together. We got this? So even the most experienced leader must, if you're in leadership, you must navigate difficult conversations. Any type of relationship, whether it's your kids, family, whatever it is, you're going to have difficult conversations. If you have the right mindset, you treat your employees with respect, you follow these tips I just gave you, you understand and become a student of coaching, you will transform these conversations into opportunities, and you will see mutual understanding, mutual friendship, mutual love and respect, and you will see opportunities. These conversations become opportunities for growth.
Thank you for tuning in to the Self-Aware Leader Podcast with host Jason Rigby. We hope this episode has inspired you to unleash your full potential and embrace your inner leadership. By expanding your consciousness, you can transform your mind, body, and soul and become the remarkable leader you were always meant to be. If you found this episode valuable, please share it with your loved ones and help us expand our community. Thank you for listening, and we look forward to having you join us again on the Self-Aware Leader Podcast.